Oh, hello. Many Magic the Gathering players ask, what are your favorite underrated cards for Commander? Well, I've got a treat for you today. I have brought the one and only one of my favorite YouTubers, Mitch of the Commander's Quarters here, and we are going to have a battle where we share and compete with our most underrated cards for Commander. And
all right, up.
Oh, hey, Olivia. I'm filming with you next, not now. Can you give me a minute?
I want to debate Mitch with my underrated cards.
Hey, I've been wanting to work with Mitch for forever.
Who introduced you to his channel in the first place?
The YouTube algorithm?
The algorithm. The only thing the algorithm is good at recommending is carpool karaoke.
Excuse me, it's my YouTube channel, not yours. There's not going to be an episode of Tolarian Community College without the professor. This isn't the command zone, for God's sake.
Come on, get out. Go, get out, come on.
Hey.
What's up, buddy?
So the first card I'm going to bring up is Damir House Guard. So Damir House Guard is a 2/3 skeleton with fear that costs 3 and a black. It says, sacrifice a creature, regenerate Damir House Guard, and it's got transmute for 1 black. So basically, by paying 1 black, you can discard it and then search your library for a card with the same converted mana cost, which is 4. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library. You can only play that as a sorcery. So essentially, this is a free sacrifice outlet, which is huge in Commander for a lot of decks. Any kind of aristocrat style strategy really wants that kind of effect. It also is a sacrifice outlet that protects itself because it can regenerate. And then also that transmute is just a great tutor effect that is basically uncounterable outside of a stifle. And there are plenty of cards in your library that have a converted mana cost of 4 generally that you're going to be looking for.
I already feel like every pick I had just got outclassed. You found one with Wall of Text that does lots of good things, and I'm like, it gets this trample.
It's only 50 cents.
That's actually really good. I guess I'll try to compete. I brought my cards so people can see them, just saying, you know, help things out. I brought Harsh Mentor. Harsh Mentor is 1 in a red for a human cleric creature that's 2/2. Whenever an opponent activates an ability of an artifact, creature, or land on the battlefield, if it isn't a mana ability, Harsh Mentor deals 2 damage to that player. So, I mean, it's good in Torbrand, obviously, because then you get to ping someone for 4 if Torbrand's out on the battlefield. But it's amazing how many lands and creatures and artifacts have abilities that aren't mana abilities.
Oh yeah.
It gets really out of hand really fast. So I really like Harsh Mentor. And I think last I checked it was a quarter. So
That's fantastic.
Got you there.
Got me on the budget.
I won't for all of them, but you know, that's where we're at.
You got it. All right, so I got a really good one for the next one. It's a fantastic finisher with Mob Rule. Mob Rule is a sorcery for 4 red. It says choose 1. Gain control of all creatures with power 4 or greater until end of turn. Untap those creatures that gain haste until end of turn. Or gain control of all creatures with power 3 or less until end of turn. Untap those creatures that gain haste until end of turn. So essentially this is like a mini insurrection where you can pick and choose which one's better for you, right? So like if you're playing your token deck or whatnot, I'm just gonna take all of your tokens that have converted mana costs less than 3. If I'm playing against a deck that's got a lot of huge beaters, I'm gonna go for the 4 or greater, and I'm gonna take all those and then just hit you with those too. So it's basically just a fantastic cheap finisher. Again, like it's 2% of decks right now. It's like 50 cents or so.
So my next card is a cheap artifact. It's not cheap money-wise, but it's cheap mana cost-wise. It's Dolman Gate. Dolman Gate is an artifact for 2 that prevents all combat damage that would be dealt to attacking creatures you control. I run this in Najeela and anything where I can turn creatures sideways, because then what's the risk? I mean, as long as you leave a blocker open if you even need to, they're not gonna die.
No,
it's fine.
Not at all.
Trade what?
Just swing willy-nilly.
Yeah. And if you're in it with Najeela, then swing willy-nilly and get
make more
tons of warriors. Exactly, just swing willy-nilly. Overwhelm, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a great card. I think it does the exact thing what Iroas does, right? But for cheaper, essentially. And, and go in any deck, too.
Exactly. That's I think, one of my favorite parts about it is that it is an artifact. It can go anywhere. If you're really saucy, then get it out turn 1 and game's yours.
Yeah.
You know?
All right, for all you white card lovers out there, I finally have one for you.
Just one?
Just one. Just one. I'm doing one of each color, all right? Okay, Hallowed Burial is my next card. All right, so Hallowed Burial is a sorcery that costs 3 white. And it says, put all creatures on the bottom of their owner's libraries. So basically, it's a wrath, but without destroying creatures or exiling them, it puts them on the bottom, which some people might think, bottom's not as good as just straight up getting rid of it or exiling because it's hard to get it back. But you get around a lot of things. Like you get away from any kind of like death triggers. So like a Teysa deck will definitely not like playing against this because you just completely decimate their board and they get nothing out of it. So any kind of death triggers, graveyard decks hate them because you can't reanimate things around the bottom of your library. Right. The only deck that probably likes it is Grenzo, which is like, yeah, thank you for putting my things back on the bottom of my library. I'm just going to go get those back. But I mean, how many Grenzo players are out there?
Now that we got the white card out of the way, we are saving the best for last, obviously, even though there's still more. We, got the white card out of the way. My next card is Kenra Charioteer. This is a 3/3 Jackal Warrior that is 1 red and a green with trample, and other creatures you control have trample for 3 mana.
3 mana.
On a 3/3. That has trample itself. That's just a really good tempo. It's cheap. You can probably, if you get it later in the game, you can cast it. It still has value. It's going to help every other creature that's in your deck. It has a home in Xenagos, which is even grosser. Works with Ronus, super gross. It's got a lot of synergy for red and green. Comes out fast and can help you late game, early game, doesn't really matter. It's just good.
Help you get some damage through early, help you finish out opponents late.
Exactly, it's really solid and not commonly seen. I mean,
oh no.
I've run against one of them. It's
very budget friendly though, very great effect that works in kind of Gruul decks where you're just looking to smash them face with some big creatures.
Yeah, especially with the Rhythm of the Wild. So now your creatures are uncounterable.
They're quicker, they're uncounterable, and
they get through.
They get a counter and they get through.
Yep.
Exactly.
Good stuff.
All right, so I got another card that actually goes well with those kind of big creatures, let's smash you in the face kind of decks. And that card is Rapid Vigor. All right, so Rapid Vigor is an instant for 1 and a green. It's very simple. It just says regenerate each creature you control. So it's a very simple effect, but saving your board for just 2 mana is pretty huge. And when it comes to most board wipes, generally they don't stop regeneration. Obviously there's Wrath of God. There are board wipes that do say it can't be regenerated, but those are few and far between compared to the Fumigates of the world. And so basically you're just saving your entire board for 2 mana. It's kind of like a budget heroic intervention, but you don't get the hexproof for the indestructibility. It's a very good, this is a 50-cent card compared to a $12 card. Two mana is a fantastic price to pay to keep your board position.
Yeah.
Someone else casts a board wipe, they blow everything else up but you, and you save yourself for 2 mana, and you're just ready to smack everyone next turn.
That's a screaming deal.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily saving everything. It's not that good.
Okay.
I mean, she's still good. But I would say gives you a lot of value and lets you work with things before you have to get into the big saving of everyone before you kill off. My next card, Savvy Hunter. Savvy Hunter is a human warrior that is 3/3, costs 1 black-green. Whenever Savvy Hunter attacks or blocks, create a food token. And if you sacrifice 2 foods, you can draw a card. I love Savvy Hunter because you get the bonus on an attack or a block. The bonus can either get you 3 life, or if you get 2 bonuses of having 2 food tokens, you can actually get some card draw in black, which is super awesome. And she's a 3/3, stands up to plenty of spot removal, can not survive a bolt. What's the other one? Shock.
I don't know too many command players running bolts and shocks.
Well, fair point. But can survive a lot of not going to die to a ping. And is a totally solid.
Yeah, I mean, and it's so early you can get it in, pretty quickly. And then you start hitting and start attacking right away to get those food tokens up and then sacrifice them when you need them too.
And even just to have as a blocker right off the bat, even if you lose the creature, you still get the token. You're still going to get 3 life out of it and have another ETB if you have anything like that. If a permanent enters the board, I remember seeing it for the pre-release and fell in love with the card, thought it was great, and wanted it everywhere. Didn't do me any good because I got outclassed, but it's still a really good card. I think it's a good value, and I've not really run into it too much in other decks, so I just thought it was a good,
definitely underrated
good one
card
to think of.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, so I saved the best for last out of all mine. This one probably out of the 5 cards I've used in the most of my decks, and that would be Aether Gale. So Aether Gale is a sorcery that costs 3 blue, and it says return 6 target non-land permanents to their owner's hands. So Aether Gale is, in my mind, a budget baby version of Cyclonic Rift. I mean, it costs technically 2 less because, everyone's overloading Cyclonic Rift, right? You don't not overload Cyclonic Rift.
I mean, there's Spell Seeker, so you can go find that 2 mana
exactly.
Rift.
It's only 2.
But you cast it for 7.
Exactly. So it's 2 mana cheaper. You have to cast it at sorcery speed, so that is a downside. And you only get to bounce 6 things, but 6 things is still a lot for 5 mana in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's a very flexible card, so you can make a lot of deals with this card. You can say, okay, look, I'll keep your things on the board, I'll keep these things on the board if you give me a turn or 2 from you hitting me with them.
Right.
You can basically just politic your way out of situations. You can incentivize people if someone's got, say, an Eternal Witness on the board and they've got a board wipe in their graveyard and you're like, hey, I'll bounce your Witness back to your hand so you can get that back and then you can wipe things and we'll be fine.
Right.
You can really kind of pick and choose exactly what you want to bounce with that.
It is actually a really good political card just because of that.
Oh,
because
yeah.
Rift is, well, if I'm overloading,
Rift is
all
not,
y'all are
there's
out.
no politics with
Right,
Rift,
no, there's
yeah.
no, well, there is. It's I
win, yeah.
You
just
should fight
concede.
me. Yeah, I'm the problem. That's the
true.
politics of Rift.
That's true.
But this, yeah, you're right. It's absolutely something you can be a bit more judicious in its
Absolutely.
application and
Absolutely.
maybe play it to your advantage way easier than you
100%.
could have Rift. Yeah.
Yeah, and it also works in decks too that actually want to bounce things back to your hand, like my Joyra deck. Like you have a bunch of artifacts that you're trying to cast for cheap or for free, essentially at certain points. You can just Aether Gale, let's say there's 3 problematic non-land permanents on the field from your opponents. You bounce those 3 back. You bounce 3 artifacts back. Congratulations, you get to draw 3 more cards. So it's just there are certain decks that can really use it in a lot of cool ways. So I highly recommend looking into this piece of budget tech. It's fantastic. All right, so how are you going to stack up against this one? What's your number 1 pick?
The best card in black, obviously.
Oh, Demonic Tutor?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, what is it then?
The best card in black.
Oh, I know what you're talking about then.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. No.
My favorite underrated card is Ophiomancer. Ophiomancer is a human shaman that is 2/2 and costs 2 and a black. At the beginning of each upkeep, if you control no snakes, put a 1/1 black snake creature token with Death Touch onto the battlefield.
Wizards reprinted so that we can get it, so I can include it in budget decks, please.
Yeah, exactly. That's of course the one caveat is that it's not necessarily budget.
It's a fantastic card, though.
It's not run in a lot of decks on EDH rack, which actually cracks me up. I think it was under 3%.
That's crazy.
It's so good. It's a 2/2 for 3, but you get a Death Touch blocker on every upkeep. So if you choose to use it, not on your next upkeep, but the next upkeep, you get it back. It's actually super great with Divine Visitation. That's a 4/4 angel on every upkeep
because it's not a snake.
Exactly. The angel turns into a not snake.
Snakes with wings.
Oh my gosh, I wish I could.
Oh, you need the art. You just get.
I know. Somebody was suggesting altering Vizier of the Menagerie with wings. So
Yes.
my hissy
100%.
with wings. I want it. But it's great. And then you have something, if you're running Aristocrats, you have a recurable, token for sacrificing.
You use Damir House card to sacrifice the
See,
snake.
exactly. It's all synergy.
From the beginning to the end.
There it is. We nailed it. We brought it full circle,
Definitely
everyone.
planned. All right, so who do you all think won? Let us know in the comments below. Is it Olivia or is it me, Mitch? Won.
You're really trying to get that in there subliminally, right?
Little bit.
Okay,
Yeah,
good to
little
know. Where'd the professor go?
I don't know.
When was the last time you committed a blasphemous act? Have you ever received 5 cards from a fact or fiction? Have you ever heard the tale of the dredge player who was buried alive? Does playing Rakdos actually give you pleasure? How many times have you scryed only to shuffle and lose your top deck? Just what are your plans for a commander deck that's a zombie apocalypse? Well, to prepare yourself, you're going to need to enter a mindset of cunning and cleverness, a mind of deck building that is beyond belief. Many Magic the Gathering players don't even believe the following deck can be real in Commander, but we've done some investigating and present for you Chainer Nightmare Adapt.